At Chipotle, we also have a playlist. Guacamole as it's being hand-mashed. The sizzle of adobo chicken on the grill. The chopping of onions and cilantro. We call our playlist Real. Order now. Chipotle. For real.
News team, assemble!
It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and
George.
All right, welcome back. It is the unofficial 40 right here on Soonerscoop.com podcast where Josh is on the vacation. That means you have Carey, Eddie, and George here to hang out with you for today. And coming off of a big day yesterday, a long day yesterday with Joe Castiglione having his retirement press conference. We wake up this morning, Wednesday, July 9th, and Chet Holmgren has a big contract, which is drawing ire around the non-Thunder world, I guess, by some people. Cole Kubelik.
Why?
Took a little shot. Said what was Cole's shot? 3 years or 3 games of 30 points or more.
Oh, okay. Well, I like it. It's good.
I think all Thunder fans like it. They know he's the future, and J-Dub will be next. And I didn't
know that people were upset about it or making fun of the Thunder for it.
It's just,
That's fine.
There's nobody that would not take Chet Holmgren on their roster, for sure. But, it's the whole thing. When you get the non-basketball world in there, they don't understand that the cap's expanding and, 250 now will be a lot less then. And Shea's number when, who was it they were saying was up next that would make more than Shea? Like, Shea's making the most right now, but soon I guess Jokic might be the next guy that could automatically be making more than Shea when he signs his new max deal.
Yeah, well, he passed yesterday, so he's going to wait
a year.
Till 2026 to do that. But I enjoy people, the ire that the Thunder have brought out from some people. Well, I hope it continues.
And I saw someone saying it didn't take long for people to stop ripping on Shea and start ripping on Chet and soon to be J-Dub. So, hey, what is it they say? They hate us because they ain't us.
Oh, I thought you were going to just say fuck them, but that's just me.
The athletic director retired this week.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we
stuff.
We just mentioned that, yeah.
It's wild.
Carey likes to just kind of ease into it.
I know.
But you give me crap when I don't talk Thunder at the beginning, and then I talk Thunder at the beginning.
Well, basketball season's over.
Well, I'm not
it's football
that interested
season.
in the summer league.
An AD search going on.
Can you get off your phone long enough to pay attention to know that I mentioned Joe Castiglione?
I'm getting married this week, Carey. I'm dealing with a lot of things, a lot of balls in the air.
I'm trying to make it easier on you. I told you, take tomorrow off and Friday off.
If Aaron is stressed out, I can't imagine the level of stress that those two bring with each other to leading up into Saturday, which I don't want to bring up to increase your stress level, but are you worried about the rain?
Yes.
Saturday morning.
Yes.
I think it's just Saturday morning.
Wait, is this an outdoor wedding? I thought this was in a church.
No, it's at a church.
It is, but
nobody wants it to rain on their wedding day.
No, well, I will say that the venue for the reception is a very cool venue in one of the
outdoors?
Maybe the best feature. No, it's indoors.
Okay.
But the best feature of it is a rooftop balcony. That is where the dance floor is, which the dance floor is inside.
We're good Saturday night.
Are you sure?
Not sure. I mean, I'm not positive.
I'm pretty
sure it's supposed to rain Saturday night.
There's a chance.
There is a bar.
It's not supposed to rain all day.
There'll be a bar inside and a bar outside. And if it rains, then the balcony just probably won't be open.
It'll be open.
And we'll move stuff inside, so it won't be a big deal. But it would be a very cool thing if the balcony was open.
We want to be outside.
Because it's got it's downtown and you can see the whole skyline of OKC, and it's just it's one of the really cool parts of the venue.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm honestly not as we get. I thought this week would go by a lot faster. It feels like it's gone incredibly slow.
Really, I feel like it's just zoomed by. I mean, it's Wednesday.
I know, but you're not getting married on Saturday, so it feels like it's just getting it's just slowly each day. And then the Joe C stuff, I mean, it's been a grind. It's talk about some of the biggest news that could possibly happen in a week that we really thought not a whole lot was going to be going on.
I don't think a lot of people have been able to kind of step back and realize what a big deal, what a sea change this is for just the University of Oklahoma as a whole in an athletic department. Because, look, Joe still has a year on the job, but we don't know, how quickly they will name a new AD. I mean, you could essentially have a new AD in 6 months before this year is up, and how much of that. And I did ask Joe that yesterday, just kind of like, how much are you wanting to really work to get this, to where you wanted it to be before you retired? And I think he's going to be all in. I think he's going to get his hands dirty. I think he's going to work really hard to leave this place the way he wanted, because I really do think he's been frustrated the last couple of years because of all the, the landscape. It changes so much, and it's changing even today. I mean, it's been really frustrating for him, just knowing him and talking to him about things behind the scenes, that he's not able to just pick a direction and, put his sails up and go toward it. It's all this kind of sitting and waiting, and courts and lawyers and all this stuff that takes a lot of time before you can really figure out what you're capable of doing.
I agree with you that he's going to want to do everything he can to put this thing in the best position moving forward, and he'll have a good amount of say in a lot of that. My question and my theory is, how much say is he going to have, and how much say has he had in the last year? And I think it's a large amount, but do I think it was the same amount as 5 years ago? I don't know. Like, I think that the dynamic inside the athletic department has shifted in a way, and ever since it's crazy to me. Maybe not crazy, but it's interesting to me that they have come out and publicly said that Randall Stevenson is the one leading this search for the next AD. He's been a part of the program for 7 months.
Well, and it goes back to...
And it's never worked in college athletics before.
I had a chance to talk to Bob Stoops yesterday, and the one thing that Bob always said when it came to people coming after him for other jobs, or just being at Oklahoma, or how long he wanted to coach, he always mentioned that the fact that David Bourne and Joe Castiglione and he had been here the entire time together. It was like everybody had everybody's back. There was nobody. I'm not saying any plotting has gone on, but there was no one that was put in the middle of that threesome, if you want to call it that. It moved. It moved very well. It was very smooth. It flowed, and they all worked very well together. It's no coincidence that a new president comes in and things just don't work the same. I mean, because David Bourne hired Joe Castiglione. Joe Castiglione hired Bob Stoops. You can't say that for the sitting president of the University of Oklahoma. You might be able to say that about Brent Venables. I mean, there's probably more truth to the fact that Joe Harris hired Brent Venables than Joe Castiglione did. They both hired him, but he didn't hire Joe Castiglione, and he wants an athletic department that moves into the new age. My biggest question is, with the Randall Stevenson stuff, and as involved as he got, when Joe Castiglione is fully capable of directing this athletic department into a new age, did they rush a little bit too much and upset the apple cart a little bit with an athletic director that was respected? And look, I know the fans are like, well, he hired Brent, it's been a terrible failure. It's not about coaches winning and losing. It's about the fact that this guy has almost 3 decades of being innovative and visionary and being a big part of college athletics. And it almost became like, and I think I've said this before, well, it's all changed now and the old guard needs to go and we need to reinvent the wheel.
Living with schizophrenia isn't easy, especially when you're not getting relief from some of your symptoms. It can be hard when you're still dealing with symptoms, like hearing voices or seeing things that aren't there. And negative symptoms, like feeling unmotivated or avoiding social situations. If this sounds familiar, it might be time to talk to your healthcare provider and explore a different kind of schizophrenia treatment. Discover your possibilities at treatingschz.com.
I think all of it is up in question, Carey. I don't know. Do you guys think that this is going to go in a direction where they treat the athletic department more like a business or a company rather than like a actual athletic department?
I mean, I guess it's either a good or a bad thing. I don't know. And I don't know which way they're going to go, just in terms of, you're talking about the hierarchy of, the power within the athletic department right now. Maybe this is going to end up being a better way. Maybe the athletic director shouldn't have ultimate control over everything that's going on. I don't know. I know that what they've done over the last 28 years has been pretty successful. Outside of the last couple years. And it's kind of like what we talked about yesterday, George, on the YouTube show and the instant reaction following the press conference. I think that a lot of these questions won't even come up, and it won't even matter if you go win football games next year. But it's like Carey and I were talking about yesterday before we got out of here. Does Joe C. leaving, does that change what the expectations of Brent Venables' program should be over the next year?
That is the number one question.
Is 9 games enough? I don't know. I would think it would be.
Basically, I said maybe these guys are looking to move on from Brent Venables, regardless, unless he goes out on a big run, and loses in the national championship or something, where you're just like, you have to bring him back.
And I do think like somebody like Joe Harris really wants. I think they all really want Brent to succeed in theory because it's better for their jobs. I mean, Joe Harris had a huge hand in hiring Brent Venables.
Sure, and I think that that shouldn't be lost on anybody.
Right.
If there's anybody that is, in Brent's quarter, quote unquote, it would be Joe Harris.
But in terms of the guys that are calling the shots right now in the football program and the athletic department, and Randall Stevenson and Jim Nagy, they don't have any ties to Brent Venables. And that's not to say they're not wanting him to fail, right? Like they want him to succeed. But
I
do think that it makes the margin of error for Brent this year much smaller, because if say they went 7-5, I don't know if that's good enough anymore.
Yeah.
Even
and
with
at the same
schedule.
time, we don't know what that 7-5 looks like.
Right.
Does that look like beating all the teams you should and then losing to anyone that you possibly could lose to?
Because if you look at it from their perspective, from Randall Stevenson, Jim Nagy, and whoever the new AD is, 7-5, 8-4, they might just say, you know what? Let's just start fresh. Go get our own guy that we know or that we wanted. Somebody like
Jim Nagy and Randall Stevenson both approve of.
And start over. Like that shouldn't surprise anybody if they wanted to do that.
And I think that there's a lot of people out there that would hear that and go, I don't know if that's a bad thing.
Yeah,
like there should be high expectations.
I agree, and I hate doing these hypotheticals because it feels like we're just already saying it's over for Brent, and I don't think that's true.
I don't think anybody's saying that.
No, but it's just
looking at the other side of the coin, though.
I just think that like yesterday was a great celebration of Joe C and all of that, but there are just so many questions and so many levels to this decision and the timing of it that are much bigger than we can even think of right now.
You guys ask, like, what does an athletic department look like moving forward? And I do think you're going to have someone, and maybe not to the extent that Joe C was an athletic director, but you're going to have, because yesterday, guys, I don't think we mentioned this, but talk about the coaches that were there. I mean, you had Skip Johnson, you had Porter Moser, you had KJ Kindler, Ginny Baranchik was coming back from the basketball internationals play, so she wasn't able to be there. Brent wasn't there. Who am I missing? Who else was there?
Patty wasn't there.
Patty wasn't there.
I think she's
Skip
maybe on
there.
vacation or something.
Yeah, I mean,
the
Brian Hibble wasn't there, but
the point I'm trying to get to is all these other sports need someone to overlook them in a more traditional fashion.
And right or wrong, because I know there's a lot of people out there that listen to this podcast and subscribe to Sooner Scoop that are like, football's the only thing that matters. One thing Joe C was great at is he helped all sports. It wasn't just football.
He supported them, yeah.
And maybe that's wrong. Maybe he shouldn't be doing that. But like, there's a reason why softball has been as successful as it has. Women's basketball,
women's gymnastics,
even baseball. Like the support that, and I know that
they would
there's
like
a lot
stadium.
They would like a stadium, but the job that Joe C did keeping Skip Johnson a year ago, that relationship was pivotal. I think that yes, football is obviously king, and they need to get back to winning those, but it is interesting to think about those relationships that Joe C has built with a lot of these coaches in other sports as well, and maybe how they feel about this new direction.
Well, I mean, they're uncertain. I think they're as uncertain as anybody is, because, like you said, they rely on a strong athletic director to do the things for their programs that help them be successful. And, but going back to the point I was trying to make, you have to have someone oversee all that. But now when it comes to football and maybe to some extent men's basketball, I think you have to look at the structure of someone like the Thunder organization, which I don't know head to tail what that is, but obviously you have Sam Presti, who's overhead everything that the ownership board does not oversee. But when they went and hired Royce Young, that was a decision that Sam Presti made. And when remember the guy, who was the guy they hired away from Rivals, Eddie?
I forget. He just got a job at a front office, though. I forgot his name.
Like they were doing innovative things, like hiring guys from Rivals that covered college basketball and scouting and all that stuff. But then you have a marketing and promotions department. You have you have a ticketing office that is very involved.
Corey Evans was the guy's name.
Corey Evans, that's right. So you have all these people that are operating on the highest level in the world in sports. I mean, they are the best of the best. And OU, I think, a lot of talk about budget yesterday and things like that, but OU has to find a way. And we all know, like, these universities are run on a shoestring budget. I mean, when it comes to a lot of departments, like, the football coaches might make a lot of money. Patty Gasso makes a lot of money, but there's a lot of like interns and student managers and things like that these programs have to use to be able to do things and practice the way they want to practice, and do laundry and just things that you don't think about. In equipment room guys, I mean, like, they have perfected how to run a near professional sports operation on a shoestring budget. And now you're talking about, is it 7? I keep saying this. Is it 7 people that are in the front office now for Jim Nagy, including Nagy?
I think so. I know they're still hiring more.
And they're still hiring, but you've got 7 new people in a department that never existed before.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do that with generation of revenue because of revenue sharing. You're going to have to find ways to make more money. And that's something that hasn't been the central focus of a university, because you've had donors. You've had people to pick up that slack for you. I mean, Sooner Club above us, that's all they do is they raise money so they can operate at a higher level. So all these things for football are going to change. So how do you do that? Basically running one part of your sports business and then having this other back end of your sports business that doesn't make as much money, but still needs to be funded, still needs to have, administrators, still needs to have people running the show. It's a huge challenge.
That was a long rant, but I agree.
What exactly are you saying?
But you're not listening. You're.
I am. I just don't know what you're trying to say.
I'm saying that everything
lot
has to change. The structure and the hierarchy and the departments are all going to have to morph and change to something that they haven't ever been before. So what role does an athletic director play when things are going to be so different in 5 years versus what Joe's been doing over the last 28?
Correct. And I think the question is, like, this new AD, what are they in charge of? Like, are they, because like I wrote in my mailbag today, I could see a world where whoever they hire is somebody who's really good at marketing, understanding ticket sales, fundraising, like a pure money situation.
Revenue generation.
But then that brings up the question of, okay, are they still putting together the contracts for the coaches, raises, things like that? Like, that has been something the AD has done forever. Is that now Jim Nagy's job? Like, if Brent Venables goes and wins 10 games this year, is Jim Nagy the one saying, hey, we're going to give Brent a raise? That's how it would work in the NFL, right? Mm-hmm. In a lot of ways, the owner and the GM would come together and say, hey, this is what, right? Sam Presti says, oh, we want to extend Mark Dagnall, right? Like, that's the kind of thing. It's like, is he doing that, or is the AD doing that? And then is the AD doing that for every sport, or is he doing that just for, he's doing it for every sport but football? Like, I think it's just, there's all those little questions that you just don't know the answer to in terms of who's making what decisions. And I think my biggest takeaway from all of this, And we may not ever know the answer to some of these questions. But my biggest takeaway is Randall Stevenson has as much influence in that athletic department right now as just about anybody. And I think that when they announced
the most, yeah.
I think when they announced him as coming on as an advisor back in December, we all kind of were like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But we didn't really fully grasp how much he was going to be involved. And then when he was named the chair of football in February, I think that's when we all kind of were like, what
chair
exactly
of football? Yeah.
What exactly does that mean? And then for them to come out and say he's leading the search, I think tells you that the Board of Regents and Joe Harris have basically entrusted Randall Stevenson to completely restructure the athletic department at the University of Oklahoma. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's good. I don't know what it's going to look like. But I can tell you with his background, it's definitely going to be a bit more of a business approach than it's ever been.
And that in itself is what I find to be, and what you said at the beginning, George, to me, maybe like, I don't know if scary is the right word. It's just, I'm curious about it because I don't know. Like, he obviously knows how to run a business. I'm not up to date on what AT&T did during his 13 years, but he must have done something right. I would imagine. I think he would know how to run a business. I just don't know, can he run an athletic department? And ultimately, I guess
basically a professional sports franchise.
Yeah, to a certain extent. And I guess we're going to just have to wait and see. It will be interesting to me, and I guess it really doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but it will be interesting to me to see who also serves on this search committee with him.
I feel like this discussion that we're having is like the discussion that everyone is always asking me questions on the board about Sooner Scoop as a business. Because a lot of times you just like, you have plans, you know what you're doing. Nobody on the outside world does, so they just question like, well, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And that's what Randall Stevenson has to face. So we don't know, but we're all a little apprehensive. We're all like you, Eddie. We're all curious how this all works out.
And I do think that there is a sense of me that based largely on how football went this year, and I know that it's not completely connected to anything in the front office or the athletic director's office. That to a certain extent, I go, well, what they have done over the last year and a half hasn't been great in the SEC. Maybe they do need an outside voice. I just wonder if that outside voice is going to be the loudest and the most meaningful.
This episode is brought to you by Dogfish Head Craft Brewery. The Grateful Dead and Dogfish Head have gotten the band back together with the release of Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale, a light-bodied pale ale brewed with sustainable Kernza grains, granola, and heaps of good karma for a refreshing brew that's music to your taste buds. Available nationwide. Visit dogfish.com to find Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale in your neck of the woods. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery is located in Milton, Delaware. Please drink responsibly.
You know what's crazy? I mean, here's the thing, and we always talk about who hired Jim Nagy, who ultimately was responsible for that. Just thinking about it, I know the timeline. Like, I know exactly how it all happened, which was OU announced, that Curtis Lofton was no longer the GM, and that they were going to make a search for a new GM. And then all these names started popping up. And I know that Nagy got connected directly with Joe Castiglione, and that's where it started. So those two first started talking. Now, I'm not saying, the stupid questions are, could Joe just have hired him on his own, or would Stevenson had to approve? I mean, obviously, it started with Joe and Jim having a conversation and ended up with him as the general manager. So I guess it's just natural curiosity that people want to know the ins and outs of how everything works. But
well, it's
I don't have a problem saying that, Joe was responsible for bringing in a general manager.
Yeah, he was.
But I don't think he understood, or not that he didn't understand. Maybe he didn't foresee that it was going to come with what seemed like a stripping of some of his power.
And I know there's a lot of people that are have said that Joe was forced out. He wasn't. No. He wasn't forced out. I think
the job became something it wasn't. Yeah.
Yes. And I think it also is like, I saw someone post this on the board, and they're 100% right. Like, there's nothing wrong with deciding to retire at age 67 and making the money that you have, and you're in a profession where it continues to change in a way that has never been the way that you knew how to do it previously, or how you did do it previously, and like just walking away. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Josie has given a lot to the university, and I'm sure his wife, as much as she jokes that she wants him out of the house and to, him to stay busy, I'm sure that she also wants to spend some time with him. I don't think he's had a ton of time off over the last 28 years. And
his schedule is insane. I mean, as an athletic director,
ridiculous.
we talked about how he supported all the other sports. He was at everything, man. He was at women's soccer. He was at volleyball. I mean, every night he was going to a game after having worked a full day's work. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, and I can kind of see how it works. Like right now, I can sit here and tell you, I want to do this at least 20 more years.
Yeah.
It's easy for me to say now because I'm enjoying it. I like what we're doing. But, eventually, if I could see, 15 years from now, I could be like, do I really want to keep doing this? I mean, you don't know until you know.
Yeah.
I got 20 days. I got 20 days left, maybe, if we're lucky.
I don't believe that. But that's another thing. It's just like everything changes so much, but nothing has changed in the history of sports as much as college football is changing right now.
I mean, all of college athletics. I mean, but especially college football, and in the last few years. And I think,
and not saying that's a bad thing. It needed to change, but no one could have foreseen that the change would have been this disruptive.
No, and has Josie done a great job at adjusting to the change? I don't know. I don't know if anybody really has, other than the universities that have just a shitload of money.
The automatic answer would be no, but I think that there's a lot of tentacles that go into that.
The only people that
Joe Castiglione's not fumbling the ball 4 times against South Carolina in the first quarter.
The only people who have fixed anything are people with billionaires, like multiple billionaires. Like money fixes a lot of problems. You hear that all the time. And OU just doesn't have enough money to fix the problem.
My
of what
question would be
is
what programs have succeeded in this new era that don't have a lot of money?
Nobody. I mean, maybe Arizona State.
Yeah.
And that's because they had,
I guess Michigan a couple years ago. But even then,
they have money.
They have money, but they weren't finishing.
Money.
I mean, I put the stat out there on the board. People are like, "Oh, OU has to recruit better," and yes, they have to recruit better. But did you know that Michigan in the 4 years leading up before they won the national title only had one top 10 class?
I remember that stat being thrown around. Yeah,
and now that might be an anomaly, but they did it without having to. I mean, and they had a great coach, Jim Harbaugh. Did a great job there, and they developed.
But you also look at the teams that had historically been doing well before money became a factor. Like SMU was never as good as they are now. Money helped them get there fast. Clemson took a little bit of a dive because they don't have the money.
They're going to be a fascinating team this year as well, because I do think that they have a chance to be really good, and they haven't been a team that's spent. I mean, they've spent money, but I wouldn't say that they're in that upper echelon like some of these other schools. Now,
Oklahoma's taken a dip because they made a very terrible decision to hire Seth Luttrell as their offensive coordinator. Or Brent did. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of these things you can point to just one thing as to why a team has, have struggled or have succeeded. But like Miami, all the money in the world, and they still haven't really made that dent for a national, to be a factor in a national championship. Yeah, Ole Miss has spent a ton of money, and last year all it got them was begging to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see with Tech. I mean, they're the rat in the cage right now. They're the what do they call it? Petri dish.
And they got more money than anybody.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're crazy. Spending all this money. Let's see if it pays off. Let's see if it buys them even a Big 12 championship.
I guess I don't understand. I guess I do understand, but from a certain extent, wasn't the revenue sharing and the NIL clearinghouse supposed to, get rid of some of that?
Well, here I saw today that I can't remember what school it was. They have now been waiting 19 days to hear from the clearinghouse on a contract that's only 6 figures.
Yeah, I mean there's too many deals going through, and the committee for the clearinghouse isn't big enough.
No. And it's
I don't think they know what they're doing.
Well, until someone gets slapped on the wrist, until the clearinghouse comes out and says, Felix Ojo, that deal is not legitimate. You cannot.
But I think
be
that
paid
deal is legitimate because when you read into the real numbers that came out, it makes a lot more sense than what it actually like it's not actually 5.1 million. Yes, he can eventually make that money, but it's like $800,000 a year
I'm saying
for
is
3 years.
Whatever it is, Carson Beck. I mean, if he's making $4 million, are they going to clear that? I mean, hell, John Mateer at Oklahoma if he's 1.75 or whatever, are they going to clear that?
Well, I think that'll be part of the revenue sharing. That won't be NIL technically. I don't know though. That's the thing that I don't understand is like, how is Texas Tech going to continue to buy these? Are they getting them also NIL deals that are going to get cleared? Because they only. Or
are they just saying that it's for their NIL rights?
Yeah, I don't know. It's also confusing to me.
Well, basically, you have to be able to prove that they can make that money in NIL. But like I said, until the clearinghouse comes out and has the first case where they say, no, this is not legitimate, we don't know what's going to happen.
They need to get...
And once they do that, they're going to get sued. And then that court case is going to take a year.
They're going to go to collective bargaining. They have to.
Employment, collective bargaining, that's the only way it gets done quick. Which, I say quick, that's probably 2 years. Yeah. Meanwhile, Cody Campbell's just going to keep buying players.
Yeah, the thing for Oklahoma is they just have to recruit well and develop the players in-house. And I do think that this front office structure is smart moving forward, but they have to. I think that, and Jim Nagy tweeted it the other day about, can't wait to see what the 2027 class looks like after having a year into this thing. And I think that that's what we've been saying is like, don't judge this group on this 2026 class. Judge them on the 2027 and 2028 class. See what they can do.
We're almost going to have to make a scholarship distribution chart that has like evaluated talent versus, highly recruited talent to see how many of those evaluated guys really pay off, become starters. Sorry, my phone's on. Anyway, I got something I want to tell you guys about outside of all this stuff. Of course, I think we've all watched on television with the floods in Texas and the Hill Country, and how devastating that has been. Just families devastated, and it's been on everybody's mind. It's been national news. Our friends over at Cody Drug RX want to do their part in this, and I got a text from Will earlier today, and he simply said, "Look, I want you to tell everybody that." Every supplement that we sell at CodyDrugRx.com, we're going to give 100% of profits to the Kerr County Flood Relief Fund. So you guys know we've been telling you about Cody Drug. Help support the flood victims and flood relief by getting your supplements from Cody Drug RX. Look, if you want better focus, you want to feel more energy during the day, you just want to stay ahead of the game, you can check out Cody Drug RX for great supplements. Go to their Instagram page at Cody Drug RX. And you'll be able to see Will tell you all kinds of different topics on what can make you feel better. Maybe George could use something for stress relief right now.
Yes.
I think that's a definite.
I think they have that at the dispensary.
Well, the dispensary of Cody Drug RX is who we'd like you to check out. CodyDrugRx.com. Also, you can book a short telehealth visit and check into the NAD Plus injections or nasal spray. They ship out the very next day. They've got they custom compound everything in their state-of-the-art sterile lab that Will has spent a lot of money building, so you can have great products coming out of there. But medications for men's health, weight loss, anti-aging, and more. And once again, all supplements purchased through CodyDrugRx.com, they will be giving 100% of the profits on this month to benefit the Kerr County Flood Relief Fund. So I know you guys don't know him. Will's a great guy, great people. He even helped Eddie maybe get into Game 7 this year.
That's not a maybe. He did. Have I ever told you guys about Enjoy Vision? Oklahoma City brought home the title. Now it's your turn to score big with LASIK at Enjoy Vision for $20.25 per eye. Schedule your free consultation and seal the deal with a LASIK Steel at enjoyvision.com. That is enjoyvision.com. Free consultation, $20.25 per eye. This is where you LASIK.
All right, so it was good seeing Bob Stoops yesterday. He was in a good mood. Big leg brace on. He's suffered an injury, but he says he's doing well. I guess he was on some crutches for a while. He said he tore the ligament from his knee or something. Just awful.
It's like the quad or something,
yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a quad injury.
Sounds awful.
Which is bad, but he looks great.
Bad for golf.
Looks great. Bad. Yeah, that's got to. I'm sure that's what he hates the most. But he did tell us, and George wrote about that this morning. He's not going to take the AD job. So any of you guys out there are thinking of, who was the guy for Tennessee, the former coach that took over for them? He's dead now, I think.
Philip Fulmer?
Philip Fulmer. Yeah, it was a massive.
I think
it was a massive failure.
I think
dead?
Coach Fulmer's still with us.
Is Phil Fulmer still with us?
I think he's still with us.
I'm thinking of the actor from Tennessee that was the congressman.
Now you lost me. I don't know.
Phil Fulmer's definitely still alive.
Okay, I'm sorry to kill you, Phil Fulmer. We'll bring you back to
74
life
years
now.
old.
Maybe we'll see him in Knoxville next year or this year.
Fred Thompson, I think, is who I'm thinking of.
Oh, the Law and Order guy.
Yes. Love that guy.
Surprised I knew that, didn't you?
I'm surprised at a lot of things with you. Anyway, I don't know. Guys, I will say this. I thought, not weird, but the really interesting thing about yesterday is how much they brought up the West Side Press Box construction project.
I think they're close.
I definitely think that's something like if you're looking at the list of boxes that Josie wants to check before he gets out of here and leaving the program and the athletic department in better shape that he found it, I certainly think that would be on top of
Finish
his list.
the stadium.
I think
finishing the stadium, yeah.
It's that, the baseball stadium, and the new arena.
Because doesn't that seem like, I know we were talking about Bob
Which
here,
they didn't
but
mention a lot of the
It's because it's just a bunch of bullshit.
I don't think they want to get
now.
involved in the whole Supreme Court,
A lot of
the
decision that's
entertainment
coming.
district
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I do think, though, that like when you're talking about what Josie, like what his role is going to be in those 2 years as the emeritus athletic director, it definitely seems like he's going to be more of a fundraiser, big project type guy.
Yes.
But and look, we've heard some things. I've heard some things that there could be a foundational donor that's already ready to step up to the plate
for the West Side
expansion. Yeah. And look, I know we're going to talk about it on Around the Horn because there's a lot of debate about facilities
around
the corner. There you go. You got me slipping. But there's a lot of debate on the corner about construction projects versus NIL and where the money really needs to be going. But I'll say in this age of revenue, building a new West Side brings in a lot of money with new suites and more expansive suites that can go from end zone to end zone because they don't currently have that. And that's something on the East Side. Joe Harris mentioned that yesterday. Like Joe C had come to him and said, we need to spend this, or he was in, I guess he said he signed off on all like big expenditures at the university at that time. So he had to explain to him why they needed to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to expand the stadium. And he mentioned the suites and how much revenue and how much they could sell them for. And he said, you're crazy. They'll never sell for that. And then lo and behold, they build it and everyone spent the money that Joe C said they would spend to secure suites in the stadium. So they need that in this age. It goes hand in hand. It's not, okay, we're going to put hundreds of millions into the stadium and we're going to neglect NIL. No, you put hundreds of millions into the stadium to bolster NIL and revenue.
Yeah. And I think that all of that will be really good if they were able to get it done. I mean, I think that the East Side expansion has been something that people have dreamed of for quite a while around here, and they've never been able to do it. I think from just like an aesthetic look at some of these people that are coming into Norman for the first time, that's a little bit of an eyesore. I think that everybody would agree with that with the press box and stuff. So,
but you guys went to all the the stadiums that you were allowed to go to last year in the SEC, and Owen Field, Oklahoma Memorial Stadium, Gaylord family, it stacks up as well as anybody.
It trumps the places that we went just in terms of facility, if that makes sense. Like
Ole Miss.
I was shocked by the Ole Miss concourse, I guess. It's just basically gravel. It looked like they literally hadn't put any money into it.
It
in
reminded
comparison
me of
to what.
Kansas.
Yeah, like the
Kansas
old
Stadium.
Kansas. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the guts of the stadium, if you
Yeah.
will.
Auburn was old as hell. Auburn had a nice like
Interior updates.
interior, like they had like you could tell they had a nice facility
But
inside.
where the press box
stadium
was, it sucked.
and the stadium itself was old as shit.
Yeah. But yeah,
I think it'll be different when we go. I mean, you guys have been. Knoxville will be.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
Tuscaloosa.
don't really remember.
Knoxville. It's like a patchwork stadium. Like
Really?
you can tell some of it if you're walking around the outside. Like you can see, like, well, that was built before the Civil War. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy how it goes from really old to like updated. It doesn't have a facade on it. Like,
Right.
Like it's kind of like the old Lewis Field at Oklahoma State.
That's what I was getting ready to say. But at the same time, when you get into it, like into the bowl,
Yeah, you don't
That thing
notice.
is awesome.
Yeah.
It's an awesome stadium.
But Alabama, I think Alabama recently did renovations, didn't they?
yeah, I think
They were a lot like-
I think Bryant Denny's pretty nice.
They were a lot like Oklahoma State, where it was kind of exterior and kind of Rust-Oleum kind of, and then they put a facade on it, and it looks really good now.
And I have no idea about South Carolina, but yeah, I've had some comments of people being like, "Oh, now that Joe C's gone, can OU get a football stadium that's worth the shit?" And it's like, well, I think OU's football stadium is actually pretty nice compared to a
very
lot
nice.
of other stadiums in college football.
I saw somebody that was bitching about they wanted to overhang on the east side, and I mean, I get it. It's hot when you're playing at noon
Overhang.
and stuff.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But like that's the least thing that you should. Or I mean, to me, and look, we get this all the time. We're not worried about the press box. We just want a seat to watch the game. We're not looking
I would
for a
love a
luxury
nicer-
suite.
I would love a
It'd
nicer
be
press
great, but that's not what we're in this for.
Fun fact,
yeah.
I haven't been up to the press box since COVID.
I would rather.
I haven't been up to the east side, the west side press box since 2019.
I think OU's press box is fine. It is what it is. It's not the worst. It's not the best.
And it won't be any better when the new stadium, that new side is, because we'll all be shuffled into the end zone, like in Stillwater.
I don't
you think
so.
that's where they would put the press box?
I've talked.
Well, they
to,
should,
What? Why would we want the press box in the end zone?
because they that gives more room for suites.
No.
Which gives them
I have
opportunity
heard
to raise more money.
I've heard, and I may be wrong, but I heard from a very reliable source that we will not be moved, because I brought this up when we went to Auburn, because when Auburn they put in new suites, that's when they moved the press box to where it is in the corner of the end zone. And I talked to somebody and said, hey, you guys aren't going to do this, right, when you do the West Side Stadium project? And I was reassured that they will not be.
They lied to you. I guarantee you, when that thing is built, that press box will be shuffled into the
Why
end zone.
can't you put suites underneath the press box?
Where would we?
Well,
where
you do.
would-
You put them above. You put them underneath. You put them above, and you put them as many in there in the middle as you can. Like Texas Tech's probably the last nice big new stadium that like has a decent press box.
Where the heck would they put us in the end zone? There's no room.
Not
over
like
there.
in the end zone. I mean, in the corner.
Where
Like,
so
you're
they're going to
be-
build a whole separate press box?
No, look at OSU. Like the press box is at the very end.
There's no room
of the
at
hallway.
the stadium to put.
They're gonna redo the entire west side.
Yeah, but yeah, and we'll be in the press box. There will
Right,
be no
but the
like.
press box will be
I see what
nudged.
both of you are saying, and I understand what
Press
Carey's
box
saying.
will be nudged over toward the end zone.
Like they're gonna tear it. My
I thought
understanding
you were
is
saying you're going to put us. They're going to put us in the.
No,
zone.
no.
Okay.
But like you've been to Jerry World. You're not.
He's talking-
You're not
I
on
see
the
what you
50.
mean.
not,
I see what you
not
mean.
like Auburn, George, but like Oklahoma State, where you are
So
kind of like
on
from like the
side,
30,
the further down the
Yeah,
side.
you're like
I
the
see what
30
You're
you're
like
to
in
the
the end
10s.
zone
Yeah,
down
like
to the
that.
30
I do
or
think
whatever.
I do
yeah.
think that could happen. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that sucks. But I understand why. I mean, that's like LSU.
But yeah, okay. I thought you were saying they're going to put us like in the absolute corner or in the actual.
No, I'm just saying the press box will not. The middle of the press box will no
wouldn't
longer
be
be on the 50-yard line.
They wouldn't redo
Which
the
I'm
south
not
end
even
zone.
on the 50. My seat now is on the 30. I'm not even on the. I'm like on the 25-30.
Yeah.
Which I could still be. They'd just be like,
Well,
I see what you're
against
saying. It'd be
shitty
like
teams,
30
you're
to,
closer to the 50.
Not really.
I mean,
I'd set up a
non-conference shitty teams that
I've
don't
been-
have any media.
Maybe I'm at the 35, but I've been at the 30 for the most part.
I had this conversation. I've lost interest.
Me too. I do hope they get better food though.
I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Oh, people definitely don't care now. Now that we're bitching about food.
I don't think. Yeah, no, you're right.
At Strayer University, we help students like you go from, is it possible, to anything is possible by offering access to up to 10 no-cost gen ed courses, so you can reach your goals affordably and fast. Visit strayer.edu to learn more. No-cost gen eds provided by Strayer University affiliate Sophia. Eligibility rules apply. Connect with us for details. Strayer University is certified to operate in Virginia by Chev and has many campuses, including at 2121 15th Street North in Arlington, Virginia.
So, but no, the West Stands expansion is definitely coming.
Sure.
It's closer than it's ever been.
Yeah. I was going to say back to Bob, but I have nothing else to say about Bob. It was good to see him.
Yeah,
good to see everybody yesterday.
Good to see Toby.
It's still weird to me turning on the news every night and seeing Toby every night.
He looks great.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. It's it also,
we're always happy for someone when they can get jumped out of morning radio.
Yeah, believe me, I'm trying. It is always funny to me too, though, when jobs like this open up and everybody's immediate response. I'm sure that your mentions were filled with it. Bob should be the next AD. It's like I love when fans nominate people that don't want jobs. Like, for instance, when the linebacker job was open and everybody's like, Teddy Lehman should do it.
Or that
and
Woody,
he's like, I don't want to do that.
They did that with Dusty, with the defensive line coach.
Senior.
But it's also funny, too, because it's not only do they not want it, Bob would be a terrible hire. No offense to Bob Stoops, but he would be a bad hire.
He has no interest in administrating anything.
No.
He just wants to coach football.
And especially in this new era of college athletics, you think that he wants to be looking at budgets and NIL contracts and
he hated Twitter.
Marketing for,
he doesn't want to deal with money and agents and all that crap.
People are like, Zach Selman would be a bad hire. Bob Stoops would be an all-time bad hire for AD.
And he'll tell you that.
Yes.
He said it in the story. I want no parts of that. That's it. Well, I think he said, that's not for me.
Yeah. He laughed.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing was comical to him. But yeah, I mean, I get it, though. That's just fans think coach. You move up. The next job is administrator or athletic director. I mean, it happens in high schools all the time. But that's not the way. It's a new world. Like we've been talking about this whole podcast.
Sure.
Whole new world. I don't know that there will ever be someone with a 27-year run like Joe Castiglione again. That is just
as an athletic director, as
that
like
just
an
has
administrator.
a job as an athletic director overseeing everything in an athletic department.
Do you guys think there's a better chance OU hires somebody that was previously an AD or is currently an AD, or someone who has no college sports experience whatsoever?
I have an easy answer. Let's take Zach Selman, for instance. Zach Selman was, he had a lot of different jobs at OU throughout his time here, but mainly he was with the Sooner Club fundraising. And Eddie, maybe you remember this better. I believe he was moved over to the OU Foundation, which is the overall fundraising arm of the university, which the Sooner Club is under. He officed over there, but I don't think he was actually a part of the OU Foundation.
I really don't remember.
But he's seen so many different aspects. He's been in ticket sales, I believe. Like, he's seen so many different aspects of an athletic department. He would be a good hire just from that perspective. But someone that has been an athletic director for 15, 18, 20 years, that's probably not the guy. I would tend to say it would be someone from a business side.
And you know what's
You're
crazy?
saying somebody from like a new age athletic director, which I would consider Zach to be.
Yes.
What's crazy, and this speaks to what we were talking about earlier about how much the job has changed and how much the restructuring has changed the athletic department. If this happened 2 years ago, Zach Selman would already be named the AD, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think you're right, and I don't know if Joe would have done the extra year. Do you think he just retires, just full send?
I think he would have gone into the whatever title, advisor title.
I will say this, though. I think, and I don't know for sure certain, but I think Zach going to Mississippi State was a way to ensure that, maybe when Joe did retire, he was ready to take over for him.
Yep.
But things have changed so much in the last 3 years. I think that kind of upset the plan a little bit.
And I know there's a lot of people critical of Zach in hiring, Jeff Lebby, but I think he's done a pretty good job at Mississippi State. They've raised quite a bit of money. I'm talking about Zach. I think he took over a situation with the football program there that
it was not good.
It was going to be a tough hire. He took a big swing.
Well, remember, Mike Leach died, and then they had an interim coach that was from the same staff. And so they fired him. They didn't have a good. So there was like a year where it all kind of fell apart, and he had to kind of build it back up from ground up.
Yeah. I think he made a really good hire in who is it? Brian O'Connor for baseball.
Yeah, excellent hire.
You know,
I think
had
a
really good
lot of people
basketball
didn't think
season.
that they'd be able to do that. And they went
Yeah.
into Virginia and they stole them away.
So I think Zach's done a pretty good job. I just don't know if that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, the Jans guy's
AD.
done a pretty good job as the basketball coach up there.
And there is going to be a committee, which, you know, who knows
Who's on that?
who will be on that. I mean, Joe Castiglione will have input into it, obviously. You know, would Bob Stoops be on the committee? Would it be, you know, someone that, you know, would it be a scouting person maybe that Jim Nagy would recommend? I mean, I don't know. We don't know. And I know Joe Harris says, we'll let you know when the time comes when we form that committee, but
We'll never know.
we'll never know. There were so many times yesterday when they're like, that's for another time. Like, we're never going to have another time.
Yeah.
There's no other time. This is just, you're teasing us with stories that we're never going to hear. So anyway, outside of that, guys, I mean, Big 12 Media Days going on right now. We got SEC Media Days coming up next week. The players were announced that will represent Oklahoma are Mason Thomas, Robert Spears Jennings, and John Mateer. Every team will have 3 players coming in. We'll be there the day before and the day after Oklahoma comes in, so we'll be able to
get over
everything.
there rather quickly
Well-
after the flight on Tuesday with Jackson Arnold's
What time
going to be there.
What time
with
do we
Auburn.
land?
Like 11.
Oh, okay.
We got a
Tuesday
pretty
morning.
early land flight.
And
yeah.
what time do we leave on Thursday?
Early.
Like 6 a.m.
Well, I think we
or
get
something.
back at like 10:30.
So we
Oh,
won't
maybe
be
I have
there.
that flipped. Maybe I have that flipped then.
So we won't be there for this day after. Really, we'll
No,
probably be at the
no.
airport.
Flights.
We'll be there on Tuesday. I mean, Wednesday. Excuse me.
Hold on, I'm pulling up our.
I just didn't know if we would get over there in time to talk to Jackson Arnold. I just find it's going to be kind of
I
interesting
don't know
to
if
see
he'd
what he
want
has
to
to
see
say.
us.
He'd be happy to see me, but I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I don't know about.
Bashed
No,
him
we
all
don't
year.
land till 2:20. We're gonna.
Oh,
miss,
well, then
we're
we'll
not-
miss everything.
Yeah, we'll miss Jackson,
All right. Well, then never mind.
and then we leave at 8 a.m. on Thursday. So we technically
Beautiful.
will only really be there for Wednesday.
Which was the plan.
Yes. Which Media Days has just turned into.
Young Thug can't go.
We
Can't go to Atlanta.
We've talked about this, but SEC Media Days especially is such a made-for-TV thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we get stuff out of it, and it's good
Yeah.
for us. But like,
But they're just shuffling them from SEC Network
Well,
set to SEC Network
and
set.
they only every team only brings 3 guys. Whereas I was telling you guys, Big 12, there's some schools bringing like 6 or 7 guys.
Yeah.
Down there for Media Days.
Big 12's going on right now. Hand up. I saw the Scott Frost stuff yesterday.
Uh-huh.
At no point did it ever register with me that he's back at Central Florida. I had completely forgotten about that. And then I was
well, they
reading
went
it.
scrambling because Gus Malzahn just bolted.
Yeah, and then I was reading the article this morning. I was like, oh, shit. I forgot that he's the head coach. That's why, like, my first thought that went through my brain was, why is anybody talking to Scott Frost right now?
He was pretty much the guy to talk to yesterday. I mean, he's had the most explosive quotes or incendiary.
It's
Whatever
just
you call
it's
them.
funny, and we've
The
said
people
this
of
before.
Nebraska were not happy.
But I'm with you, Eddie. Like, I haven't even thought about that. It's just because, other than Oklahoma State, which I somewhat pay attention to, it's just a lot of teams over in the Big 12 are just such an afterthought to me.
Yeah. Well, and, Tech was yesterday. That's going to be fascinating to see what happens with them. But I think today was kind of the big guns with Oklahoma State, or at least in my, I guess, attention span.
I will say this: your mark.
I don't really care what
isn't
Leipold has
wrong.
said.
The Big 12 has a lot of quarterback experience returning. Probably
Yeah, it's like
more than any other league.
Don't they have like 8 returning starters in the league right now?
I mean, they got Levitt, they got Avery Johnson, they got
Kid from Baylor.
I like that kid too.
Yeah, we loved him. We thought.
Sawyer
I think we had kind
Hoover
of
at TCU, Sawyer Robinson.
we talked
yeah.
ourselves into thinking that he should be the
So is
the
the
quarterback in Oklahoma this year.
is the kid at BYU going to be able to?
Well, he's transferring.
Oh,
Ratzlaff?
I haven't followed that closely.
Yeah,
He got-
Ratzlaff, he's under investigation.
Yeah, he was
So
under-
he's just like, I'm leaving and going somewhere else.
He got accused of sexual assault, and during the investigation, they come to find out that he had premarital sex at BYU, and I think technically he got suspended from the school.
Wow.
Yeah, not an athletic department situation. The code, what do they call it? Code of honor.
Something. It kind of weird. I don't know. That whole
So
thing.
is he
seems-
eligible for this upcoming season?
It's his
Somewhere else?
appeal or whatever is not granted or whatever. Yeah, I don't.
I don't know, because I don't know if another school would say, yeah, you can come on, buddy, while they still have an investigation for the sexual
glad I
assault
don't
stuff.
have to
But I
cover
think
that.
I thought the investigation was closed because she recanted her statement to police after the findings that they'd had consensual sex. I really don't know.
Maybe he had some caffeine that they just found out about.
It's crazy.
Colorado took 2 quarterbacks, by the way.
To Big 12
course.
Media Day?
I've never heard of that. And one's a true freshman that reclassified, so he's 17 years old.
Meet the most capable CRV Honda has ever dreamed of. The all-new CRV Trail Sport Hybrid. With all-terrain tires and available enhanced traction control, it's built for wherever the day takes you. Heated front seats and a heated steering wheel, ideal for winter drives and crisp early starts. And with generous cargo space, it's ready for big gear and even bigger getaways. The CRV Trail Sport Hybrid. Learn more at honda.com/CRV.
Oh, that's wild. Didn't realize that.
Who is it? He was a pretty highly regarded guy.
Well, it's either Julian. I think it's Julian Lewis. Wasn't he the guy, or was that the transfer? Caden Salter is the other kid that they took?
Salter's the
Salter's the kid from Baylor.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Julian Lewis, he was a big time recruit. I think maybe he turned down USC and picked Colorado, or maybe he was committed to USC.
They're going to be an interesting team.
He was
this
committed
year.
to USC and then flipped to Colorado. Julian Lewis.
Yeah, but here's the quarterback. Noah Fafita, which all OU fans remember him.
It's crazy to
unfortunately.
think that he is still
going.
in college.
He was not very good last year.
Sam
And that he was
Levitt,
at
we
Arizona.
mentioned Sawyer Robinson, Brennan Sorsby from Cincinnati, Rocco Becht from Iowa State, good player. I'm torn on Avery Johnson. There was some talk that they wanted him to transfer out. The Morton kid from Tech, you said Fafita.
Is it Barron's Morton?
Yeah, Barron's Morton. And
Who's going to start for OSU?
Josh Hoover.
Who's going to start for OSU at quarterback? Flores?
I think Flores.
Flores.
I guess that's how it's pronounced. I've never seen that spelling pronounced Flores, but Zane Flores or the Hunter Hennig kid, right? I think those are the two
Yeah, the
guys
kid that transferred
really
in
have
with-
the,
Don't even know who that is.
he's the guy that transferred in with Meacham from TCU.
Yeah.
He was the backup. Hunter, the Hoover kid beat him out.
There's a real scenario where OU and OSU are both hiring head coaches this offseason.
I'm curious how Mike Gundy's going to have a day today. Like, is he going to, like...
From what I've seen, he's been binding his manners a little bit.
Yeah, he's been pretty tame.
Well, I don't mean... I wondered how brash he was going to be.
He hasn't said anything that really caught headlines. I haven't really sat down and watched everything from him.
He usually does own media days, though.
He did. I think he basically said that he put Nardo in a bad spot last year, going from a what was it, a 3-man front to a 4-man front, or vice versa. I think it was vice versa, 4-man front to a 3-man front. He kind of owned that, but outside of that, I haven't seen a whole lot.
Yeah, it's hard to be too crazy when you're coming off a 3-9.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really, and I think that with all of the changes that they had to make on both sides of the ball in Stillwater, not to mention that I think they brought in 50 transfers into the program.
That was
It's
West Virginia.
West Virginia has, maybe it's West Virginia that has 50. OSU has like 40, I think.
Did you see
30 or 40?
Did you see Rich Rod's response to? They're like, is it a good thing to have 50 transfers coming to your program?
Yeah.
He's like, shit, I got 2 starters. I'd rather have 50 starters.
Yeah,
or
I'd
whatever.
rather have 22 starters
Yeah.
returning. It will be interesting to see what happens with the Big 12. Definitely, like just in terms of who wins the conference, because they literally did away with their preseason poll because of Arizona State
was
last year.
16 of 16 last year.
Yeah,
and
and they end up winning the conference. It's crazy.
Which I can't see them not winning. I mean, maybe TCU makes a run or Tech. I mean,
I think Tech's going to be they're the Missouri Ole Miss of the Big 12 right now. Is it going to work out by buying your way into contention to be one of those teams?
I'd love to
be?
see Willie Fritz just take it over.
Completely forgot that Houston even had a program, to be honest with you.
We entered Latrell McCutcheon on our airwaves this morning on
Really?
Real Radio. Yeah, he was
On
actually
who? With who?
Mark Rogers was on there, and he went on with our morning crew.
It's wild.
Or no, he went on with Ravis and those guys. We didn't have him on in the morning. Latrell McCutcheon,
Who's he play for?
Houston, played for him last year. I think his brother's there too.
Oh, that's right.
Didn't realize that.
I think he got a really serious, almost got like a really serious personal foul that could have screwed him against Oklahoma State.
That's
last
right.
year.
I forgot about that. He did. Or was it a pass interference? There
No,
was
it
something.
was
He had something.
taunting.
That's
it was
right.
taunting.
That's exactly what it was.
But I think they didn't call it or something, or maybe they did. I can't remember. I just remember it being a big thing.
He was part of something that happened there in the fourth quarter. I do remember that.
And Oklahoma State benefited from it, and then they went on and just blew the doors off.
I do
in the
remember
fourth.
that. Yeah. because it was a close game at one point.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy that we're already, kind of at this point in the summer. I guess it helps when the Thunder and the Women's College World Series took up most of June. But
what day is Texas going next week?
I have no idea. I don't know what the schedule looks like.
Monday.
It is going to be. I think like when we get to Atlanta, that's when it kind of starts to hit me, and maybe because it gets a little bit warmer around these parts, it's just starting to feel like football. I don't know if it might be. Maybe it's just because it's all on the brain right now.
I don't know if I'd want to be around the day Texas is there.
I saw someone tweeting about that Arch Manning is going to have the largest scrum in SEC Media Days history, and I believe it. I don't even know how you judge that, but I believe that it will be the largest.
I can't believe that would be true. I mean,
going all the way back to like Tim Tebow and Cam Newton.
Dude, the Arch Manning.
Dude, I'm telling you, Tim Tebow in 2008, Florida, OU national championship. That was some of the craziest shit I've ever seen from media.
Well, was it Tom Brenneman or who did the game that was like, spend 5 minutes with him, he will change your life? It's like, what?
I just remember it was Dom Franks, and he said that Tim Tebow would have been the fifth best quarterback in the Big 12, and it was like he murdered him with the Florida media. There was one dude that started pacing back and forth as if he was just waiting for his job to stab Dom Franks in the neck with his pen.
That's
It was
hilarious.
incredible. And you think of the 08, that was Colt McCoy, that was Sam Bradford,
Graham
Harrell, and Chase
Daniel?
Chase Daniel, yeah.
Who's the OSU quarterback?
In
In
08? I
Yeah.
guess
Zach Robinson?
Zach Robinson would have been.
Robinson.
Z-Rob? ZMFR?
It might have been started off as Bobby Reed and ended up Zach Robinson.
If you went to Stillwater at any point in like 2008 or 2009, you got a ZMFR koozie, which I still have to this day. Sometimes I break it out when I go to a game in Stillwater.
Still one of the... Anyway.
But you have to remember, too, like at SEC Media Days, they allow anybody into that. Like,
Yeah,
there's
the
gonna be-
podcasters
You're
and-
going to have everybody.
Hey,
It would have been crazier, though, if it was in Texas.
Look,
like, if it was in Dallas this year, it would be crazier.
And people, I know there are people out there like, well, I got a podcast. How do I do it? It's $750 a table. So the SEC's making bank off of that.
A table for if you want to...
If you're going to podcast from that.
Well, yeah, if you're going to podcast, but just to get in, it's free.
Right. I mean, we're not paying to get in, but if we had a table.
But you
I'd
have to pay to
like
get to
$750.
Atlanta. It was not exactly cheap to get to Atlanta and get the hotel.
No, we're spending a few grand to go and come back. You're not going to make that off of podcasting, probably, for 1 week or one trip. But to each his own. All right. Well, I mean, there was nothing really. It'll be interesting to see if anybody gets some of these other coaches on records like about Joe Castiglione, but I suspect everybody's just kind of laying low and keeping their heads down because I think there's just I received some texts this morning from some people that asked me if I knew that they usually know more than I do. I think there is definitely a lot of apprehension in the athletic department right now, and so we'll have to see how this plays out moving forward. I would imagine that Joe C is probably going to meet with everybody if he hasn't already to give them the expectation of how this next year is going to go, which probably won't change a whole lot.
Agreed.
So, anything else you guys want to hit on?
I don't think so.
You got a commitment.
Yeah, I was going to say from a recruiting standpoint, Tyler Ruxer did commit on Monday. Good get for Jon Finley.
Great get.
4-star kid. Kind of crazy that him and one of his teammates, they both committed on the same day. One's going. They're from Heritage Hills, Indiana. One's going to Oklahoma. One's going to Ole Miss. Pretty good pull out of Indiana.
Was it one high school? Same high school?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they're teammates. Heritage Hills.
Pretty good tight end class.
Yeah,
I mean him and Ryder
mix. Yeah, definitely.
There was a message on the Crimson Corner where people were like, "Is this the best room, in this class now?"
Let me think. I think if OU can get Jake Krull, it's probably defensive end. Quarterback's pretty good. Even I know it's just one, but
Sure. And Jake Krull, we should mention, he put out a top three. Oklahoma certainly in it. Texas and Alabama.
Ole Miss.
I don't know why I thought Alabama.
It's interesting. There's no Florida.
Yeah, for a kid, IMG kid, obviously.
Well, I know Florida had been. He went on official to Florida not long ago.
We'll catch up with Josh about the ins and outs of Jake Krull, but
you know what's crazy about
news.
Ruxer is like when we saw the last pictures from Ryder Mix when he came in, like, good God, he looked good.
Yeah, he looked great.
And I mean, when we saw him at camp last year, my first thought was, yeah, he's a skilled guy, but I don't know if he has the body. Like, now he has the body.
Definitely has started to fill out. It's exciting.
Frisco Lone Star, Ryder Mix. Oh, he's not done too bad at Lone Star.
No, been very, very good to him.
All
Outside
right.
of not getting Ashton Genty, but I don't think they recruited him. Like everybody else in the country.
Like everyone else, yes. All right, that's going to do it. Josh will be back again next week before his next vacation, so we'll catch back up with him.
Are we going to pod live from Atlanta?
We'll work it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we could do that.
We might be able to do that. I don't know. We'll be back so early, I think, on Thursday. We might be able to just come to the office and do it, knock one out.
I'm down with whatever. We could do it. We also been doing a genocide at the office. Carey and I have with
my God.
Wasps.
How have you checked today?
Nothing today, which I was kind of surprised about.
We've gone through almost 1.5 full cans of wasp and hornet spray.
It's crazy.
And actually, these are hornets, which is worse than wasks because
I believe you. I don't want any part of them.
You've been stung by a yellow jacket.
Yeah, I don't want any part of any of it.
From my experience, and I got swarmed by hornets when I was like 4 years old. It was very bad, but like they're very aggressive compared to wasps. Wasps are kind of like, they want to see what's going on and they'll come at you a little bit, but then they go back. These hornets are just bastards, and they will not stop coming.
I don't want any part of it.
What are we on, 3 nests now so far?
Yeah. They just keep reappearing. If you have any advice on how to keep the wasps out, let us know.
To keep them from coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, we've killed at least 25, 30 maybe at this point.
Has to be. Infestation on campus.
Pray for us,
right
folks.
Now.
Pray for us. All right, that's going to do it. We'll be back again next week. Lots of stuff to come. It's talking season, and we'll be in Atlanta for the SEC Media Days next week, so much more to come. George, good luck on the wedding.
Thank you. Pray for no rain, but I'm sure it'll be great either way. It'll be a lot of fun. I know you guys will both be there.
We know your suits are going to be just fine.
The suit is honestly badass. We'll have to take a scoop photo with me wearing it.
Do I need to bring the camera?
I mean, you can if you want. We're going to have photographers there that we paid a lot of money for.
Is it going to be all stylized, though?
I don't know, Carey.
I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Just come to the wedding and we'll just take a picture.
I'm not bringing my camera.
I don't want
to the
any
wedding.
pictures.
I've seen the pictures from Eddie when he's on location. They're not age appropriate or work appropriate.
What?
Not on the Epstein list, Carey. Although, case closed, nothing to see here.
I saw your John Doe 2 sign. All right, that's going to do it. We'll be back again next week. Thanks for listening to the Unofficial 40 Podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com.